So now we will discuss about permanent magnets and how are magnets obtained. What is the property which gives rise to the magnetism of any substance. So let's say you have a bar magnet. Now this bar magnet has two poles. One is a north pole and one is a south pole. Now what will happen if you break this bar magnet from the middle? So you will observe that some interesting phenomena will take place. There will be north pole here, south pole here, but on this portion a south pole will be produced and a north pole will be produced on this portion. So it will again become a magnet having north and a south pole. Now let's say you again split it. So if you again split it, you will observe that the magnet will again have north and a south pole on both the sides. But let's say you again split it. So you can do the splitting till you reach the electrons. So let's say you have an electron. So electron itself is a magnet having a north pole and a south pole. Electron itself is a magnet having a north pole and a south pole. And why is the electron magnetic? Because it moves, it has angular momentum, magnetic angular momentum. So because of that angular momentum, the electron becomes magnetic and it has a north pole and a south pole. So if you focus on what I am saying, you will understand that every atom, every material is made up of atom and every atom has electrons. So all the electrons in any atom, they are magnetic. So the question will come into your mind, if all the atoms are magnetic, all the electrons are magnetic, then why isn't everything magnetic? Because everything is made up of atoms and atoms have electrons. So it is because the magnetism gets cancelled out at various levels. For example, first let's say we are inside the atom and we are talking about the electrons themselves. So in the atom, electrons do not stay individually. Electrons remain in pair. If you have studied in chemistry, you will know that let's say in every orbital you have two electrons, one in up state, one in down state, which tells us about the spin of the electron. So the electrons remain in pair. There is a pair of two electrons, two electrons in all the atoms, and each of those two electrons have magnetism in opposite direction, so they cancel each other's magnetic field. Let's say the magnetic field of one electron is like this, and the magnetic field of another electron will be like this. So they will cancel each other's magnetic field, magnetism. So this is the reason that most of the atoms are not magnetic, because they have electrons which are in pair. Now it is also possible that in atoms having uh, uh, odd number of electrons, or in various other circumstances even number of electrons can be arranged in such a manner that all the electrons do not form a pair. So if electrons remain unpaired in any atom, so then that atom will become magnetic. If electrons remain unpaired in any atom, then the atom will become magnetic. So this was the first level. Now let's move on to the next level. So one more on the next level, one thing can happen, that there are atoms which are so arranged randomly that they cancel each other's magnetic field. But sometimes it can also happen that the atoms are arranged in such a manner that do not cancel each other's magnetic field. So then we move on to the next level, which is of the level of molecule. So the molecule will become magnetic. Now the next level is domains. So multiple, for example, let's say this is a material, and in this material we have various regions, okay, having these are molecules, okay. So some molecules make up the domains is the combination, or uh, multiple molecules are present, we call it a domain. So the next level is of a domain. So if atom cancels the magnetic field of each other, then no problem. But if atoms do not cancel the magnetic field of each other, then the molecule will become magnetic, and the domain or the structure in which we have multiple molecules, it will become magnetic. Now if if all these domains are aligned, then the material will become magnetic. The domains will become magnetic. If they are unaligned, then they will be unmagnetic. So if all the domains are in same arrangement, then the substance will become magnetic. So first level is electrons, then atoms, then domains or molecules, and then the substance itself. So this is why most of the atoms are not magnetic, because there are so many levels at which the magnetism can be cancelled out. So the materials which are magnetic looks like this. So they have domains which have molecules which are having magnetic field. For example, this is domain 1. In this, all the magnets are arranged properly. Magnets, that is all the molecules which are magnetic, are arranged in all same direction. In this domain also, all the magnets are in same direction like this. In this domain, all the molecules which are magnetic are in the same direction like this, and so on. In all the domains, individually, in all the domains, the molecules are arranged. Now what happens is that if we apply some external field, if we apply any external field, then all these molecules of different domains, they will also get aligned. So we will have a situation like this, in which we have domains which are aligned in same direction. Molecules of all the domains will be aligned in same direction if external magnetic field is applied. So the molecules or the materials having domains in the same direction will become magnetic. So what are some examples of magnetic substances? If we talk about elements, so in elements, iron, nickel, cobalt, they show the property of magnetism, and using these elements we can make compounds having strong magnetism. So now one reason is that electron is magnetic and it can make the permanent magnet. Now there is another type of magnet called electromagnet. So electromagnet is a magnet which is produced by current. So whenever we have a current carrying conductor, then that current carrying conductor produces a magnetic field around it. So let's say this is a current carrying conductor, so there will be a magnetic field around this wire. Okay, so ultimately flow of charge or motion of charge produces magnetism. Even in the case of electron, because it rotates or it moves, magnetism is there. Here also, when electrons or charges are moving, current is there. So the flow or motion of the charges produce the current. So according to Ampere, according to the scientist Ampere, a current is the main source of magnetism. According to Ampere, current is the main source of magnetism, and everything which is magnetic because of the presence of current or flow of charge. Now this magnetic field is again invisible. So to represent this magnetic field, we use magnetic field lines. So magnetic field lines have some properties. For example, let's say if we have a bar magnet, north pole, south pole, so magnetic field lines look something like this. Inside they move from south to north. So first property of the magnetic field lines is that externally it goes from north pole to south pole, and internally inside the magnet, the magnetic field lines go from south pole to north pole. Obviously this standard is made by human beings. Okay, if humans wanted, we could have also said that the magnetic field lines go from south to north externally and north to south internally. So this is our convention. Second important property is that magnetic field lines are closed lines, closed loops, because they start from the north pole and they again end at the north pole. If you notice, electric field lines are open curves. Next, if you want to find the direction at any point of the magnetic field lines, then just draw the tangent at that point. So the direction will be shown by the tangent at that particular point. The magnetic field lines will never intersect each other, because let's say if we have a magnetic field line which intersects like this, so at the single point we will have two tangents like this and one for this one, two curves, two tangents. So at a single point the magnetic field line will have two directions, which is not possible. It is impossible that you can move in two directions at a particular time. So they do not intersect with each other. And the density of the magnetic field lines tells us about the strength of the field. Here the field lines are close, so here the strength of the magnetic field is more. Here the fields are far away, so the strength of the magnetic field is weaker on these regions. So the density of the magnetic field lines tells us about the strength of the magnetic fields. So according to Ampere, magnetism is due to any current loop, and there is a clock phase rule. If current is flowing in a clockwise direction, then that phase is called this south pole, and if current is flowing anti-clockwise, then that phase is called the north pole. So now let us try to visualize a situation. Let's say we have a magnetic dipole. So what is a magnetic dipole? Magnetic dipole is a situation in which we have two poles, north and south, of equal strengths, having equal pole strength. Pole strength means the strength of these poles. So this is a magnetic dipole, normal magnet. Now we can find the magnetic field strength at various positions due to this dipole. So for example, in electricity we studied that if we have a charge plus q minus q charge of equal magnitude, then we can find the electric field strength at various locations, like on the axis of the dipole or on the perpendicular bisector of the dipole. So we can find the strength of the electric field at various locations. It is called axial position or end-on position and it is called the equatorial position or broadside on position. So similarly, in the case of magnetism, we can have two poles, north pole, south pole. Let's call them M1, M2. So those magnetic dipoles will again have similar formula as that of electric field counterparts. So we know that in axial position the approximate value for electric field is given by this formula, where P is the dipole moment, okay, which is equal to q dot distance between the dipole. So similarly, we will have magnetic field in axial position equal to mu naught upon 4 pi 2 into m over r cube, where m is the magnetic dipole moment. M is the magnetic dipole moment. And similarly, in equatorial position, it is this. So mu naught over 4 pi m over r cube. Again here m is the magnetic dipole moment. If you want you can represent it using capital M so that you do not get confused with the magnetic pole strength. So magnetic dipole moment is equal to magnetic pole strength into the distance between the poles. Okay, like if the distance between the poles is 12 and let's say that this magnetic magnetic poles have the strength of M, because both must be same, only nature is the opposite. Okay, so this is the formula for axial position and broadside on position for the magnetic field. Now, just like we studied in electricity that when we have a torque in an external electric field, then the torque experiences a torque, then the dipole experiences a torque. Similarly, if you have a magnetic dipole moment in a external magnetic field, the magnetic dipole will experience a torque. So the value of torque was obtained as P cross E. So similarly here it will be obtained as M cross B. Again, if you want, you can write it as capital M also. Similarly, energy was also found out. Potential energy was given by minus P cos theta. So potential energy here will be minus MB cos theta. So the torque is MB sin theta. Now let's say if we have this, the magnetic field is in this direction, and this is our magnetic dipole like this. So if you have this magnetic dipole here, so there can be a situation in which this dipole is moved here or moved here, depending on the orientation, depending on the type of pole, north or south. So in stable equilibrium, torque will be equal to, this is simple, we know that torque is equal to we know that force is equal to ma. So similarly, rotational analog is torque will be equal to moment of inertia into angular acceleration, which is equal to d square theta over dt square alpha, just like acceleration is d square x over dt square. So the torque is this, and we know that mv sin theta is the value of torque. So from here we can simplify this, and you will obtain that this is an equation of simple harmonic motion or oscillation. So when the magnetic dipole is in an external magnetic field, then it can oscillate like a pendulum. So this is the SHM equation, simple harmonic oscillations equation, where omega is the angular frequency of the oscillation, which is root mb over I. The time period will also be easy to find out. It will be 2 pi root I over mb. Magnetic field will be 4 pi square I over mt square, and the potential energy will be minus mb dot m dot b, minus m dot b, or obviously m dot b is equal to mb cos theta, dot product. So this is the formula for torque and potential energy if the magnetic dipole is placed in external magnetic field. So just like we had a Gauss law in electricity, which stated that the flux is equal to the charge enclosed over epsilon naught, charge enclosed over epsilon naught. The Gauss law in magnetism say that the net flux in a closed surface will be 0. Why? Because the in electricity charges could have stayed individually. We could have obtained a positive charge individually or a negative charge individually, but in magnetism north and south will always be together. So in a closed loop, in a proper loop, the net flux will always be 0, because there will be the flow outside will be equal to the flow inside, because the magnetic field lines are closed curves. So this Gauss law states that the one thing is magnetic field lines are closed loops, and second, magnetic monopoles do not exist. That is, north pole cannot exist separately and south pole cannot exist separately. North and south will exist together always. So monopoles do not exist. Now what if you cut the magnet first along the length, second perpendicular to the length? So if you cut the magnet along the length, then something else will happen, and if you cut the magnet along perpendicular to the length, something else will happen. So let's say if you cut along the length like this, so what will happen is that the magnetic dipole moment will be equal to magnetic strength into 2L. So we will have this magnetic strength will become half because this region has become half, so it will be m by 2. Length is 2L, still the length is 2L. okay. So the magnetic strength will reduce to half if you cut along the line. But if you cut perpendicularly, so what will happen? The length will become half, okay, but this strength will remain same because it is as it is. So again the magnetism will reduce to half because of the change in the length. So in both the cases magnetic strength reduces to half, magnetic dipole moment reduces to half. Now bar magnet and a solenoid, so they are quite similar in terms of magnetism. What is a bar magnet? Bar magnet looks like this, a magnet which is structured like this. And what is a solenoid? Solenoid is a coil of wire, having multiple turns like this. So it is observed that the magnetic field lines for a bar magnet is quite similar to that of the magnetic field lines for a solenoid. So for a solenoid also the magnetic field lines are quite same as that of a bar magnet, almost same. So because of that the solenoid is the electromagnet and bar magnet is the permanent magnet, and they are analog of each other. Bar magnet, which is a permanent magnet, natural magnet, and a solenoid which is which produces magnetism because in this coil we apply some current, and because of that current it becomes a magnet. So it is an electromagnet. So these two are analogous to one another, bar magnet and a solenoid. Now it is important to understand that when we suspend a compass needle, so that compass needle always try to point towards the north direction. So why is it so? So the compass needle is made up of a magnetic substance. This needle is made up of magnetic substance. So this means this needle must be orienting itself with respect to some external magnetic field. There must be some external magnetic field which is moving the magnetic coil or magnetic needle in the north south direction always. So it is because earth is a huge magnet, and because of that the needle always points in the north pole and south pole. So we know that earth's outer layer is called the crust. It is a very thin layer. Crust is a very thin layer, only a few kilometers wide. Then inside the crust we have what we call the outer mantle, which is liquid. Then inside outer mantle we have inner mantle, which is solid. Inside inner mantle we have outer core, which is liquid, and inside outer core we have inner core, which is again solid. So it's like solid liquid, solid. So this is the crust, which is solid, then outer mantle, inner mantle, which is liquid and then solid, then outer core, which is liquid, and then inner core, which is solid. So the magnetism is because of the presence of the solid inner core. This solid inner core has it is assumed that there is a huge metal reservoir here. A lot of iron and other metals are present here. So you know that if earth will rotate, let's say this is the tilt axis of earth. So we know that if earth will rotate, what will happen? If earth rotates, then the metal will also rotate, and because of the motion the metal will become magnetic. So because of the motion of earth, the magnet which is inside the core, with the metal which is inside the core, it becomes magnetic, and because of that the earth is a big magnet having a north pole and a south pole. Also the liquid layers of metal also move, which helps in having a magnetic field around earth. So earth itself is a magnet, and because of that the needle always point in north direction. Now remember that needle points in north pole, so this means that at the geographic north pole we have magnetic south, because this north will be attracted towards south pole, and towards geometric south we have a magnetic north. Remember this thing. Interesting thing is that this magnetic poles keeps on changing after around 7 lakh to 10 lakh years. They keep on flipping. So now let's discuss a few important elements. So let's say first is the if we discuss about the magnetism of earth, then we need to discuss a few important elements of earth's magnetism. So those will be magnetic declination, magnetic dip, and horizontal component of earth's magnetic field. So before that, let's first quickly understand the meaning of geometric and magnetic meridian. So let's say that this is the earth. So it is observed that, let's say if, we are ignoring the tilt of earth. We know that earth is tilted at 23.4 degree approximately. So we are ignoring that for now. So let's say this is the geographic north, this is the geographic south, and just ignore that it is magnetic south or magnetic north. It does not matter. Just remember that the geographic north and the magnetic south are not at the same position, as well as geographic south and magnetic north are not at the same position. So there is some tilt like this. So the geometric meridian is the line which is passing through the geographic north and south pole, and magnetic meridian is the plane surface which is passing through the magnetic axis. Okay, so we have a geographic axis and we have a magnetic axis, and the plane passing through geographic axis is geographic meridian, and plane passing through magnetic axis is magnetic meridian, and there is some angle between them. So first of all, what is angle of declination? So it is the angle between the geographic meridian and the magnetic meridian. Okay. Now next is dip or inclination. So dip or inclination is the angle angle between the magnetic field component and the magnetic meridian. So let's say magnetic meridian is like this and the magnetic field points like this. So the angle between them is called the dip or inclination angle. The dip angle is made by the vertical path. So the angle of dip at poles is 90 degree and the angle of dip at equator is 0 degree. So it keeps on changing based on the location. So let's say we have the magnet like this, north and south, but let's say the magnetic meridian points like this. So in this case, this will be the angle, this will be the angle of dip. So it tells us about the inclination of the magnetic needle with the magnetic meridian of the earth. So at poles what happens is that the magnetic meridian is like this, it's like this, because south is here and north is downward. So it is like this, and at equator it is along the direction. At equator you are also like this, and magnetic needle is also like this, but at pole you are like this. Okay, at pole you are like this, your magnetic compass is like this, but the Earth's magnetism is like this. So you have a angle of 90 degree here, and you have an angle of 0 degree on the equator. Then at other places the angle varies from 0 to 90. Okay, 0 to 90. Next is the horizontal component of magnetic field. So let's say this is the direction of the magnetic field of Earth. So this will be the horizontal component and this will be the vertical component. And let's say this is angle of dip delta. So this will be, we know that this will be b cos theta, b cos delta, and this will be b sin delta, because the part with which the angle is there, it is the cos component. So tan delta is v over h, and b is equal to root h square plus v square, which is the horizontal component square plus vertical component square. So at magnetic pole h is 0 and v is magnetic field intensity is only has vertical component, and at equator the vertical component is 0, so the magnetic field component is only due to the horizontal field, horizontal magnetic field. And the Earth's magnetic field has this much strength, 3.2 into 10 to the power minus 5 Tesla, not very strong.